Alright guys, this Chatterbox Reviews coming to you guys with a video listing my top 5 TV shows of the year for 2022. Alright, so now that the year has come to an end, I thought this would be a good time, of course, to look back on all the shows I watched this year, and specifically some of the ones that really stood out. My favorite shows are my top TV shows of the year. So this is a video I've been doing on the channel, I think for 3 or 4 years now, and with this I usually also do my top 10 episodes, which I am doing, and that video should be out at the same time or maybe slightly before this one, so be sure to check that out. And then also I usually do a memorable performances video where I highlight some of the performances and memorable kind of scenes, I guess, from actors and actresses this year in TV. But I decided this year instead I'm going to do my most anticipated shows for 2023. So definitely look out for that one. That will be coming, but no performances video, unfortunately, for this year. And then, of course, my awards, my year-end awards show, which will be sometime in January. It won't be here for the year-end necessarily, because I do want to, check out a few more episodes of shows that could get nominations and all that stuff. But yeah, stay tuned for all that. But this one is going to be my top 5 TV shows of the year. So I have 5 shows, and I also have 4 honorable mentions as well, in no particular order. So before I get to those, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this year in TV. Just generally, what were some of your favorite shows that stood out to you? If you want to put together kind of a list, a top 5, a top 3, even maybe just your favorite show of the year, I'd love to hear from you guys. And also share your thoughts on my list as well, if you agree or disagree. Love to discuss with you guys either way on that. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel as well. Would really appreciate that. Yeah, so without any further ado here, let's get in then to my honorable mentions. And like I said, no particular order for these ones outside of the main 5. Alright, so first we'll start off with What We Do in the Shadows, Season 4. So this one, I felt like, where Shadows is usually always in my top 5. It has been in my top 5, I believe, for every year I've done this video so far on the channel. Yeah, this one just wasn't quite as good to me as the kind of standard that they've set for previous seasons. I feel like it's a bit of a step down from Season 3, and Season 3 was a bit of a step down from Season 1 and 2. Now, having said that, and if you take a look at my top 10 episodes video, this show still delivers some of the best comedic episodes of the year, even in kind of a step down of a season like this one was. So it still definitely deserves a spot here. It definitely deserves a mention on this list because of just the moments, these episodes, the way that they're able to capture, these great sequences, like I said, these great moments, even just within episodes that aren't always that great. It's just the amazing chemistry of this cast that they've developed now to this point in Season 4. We have Matt Berry, Natasha Demetriou, Kayvon Novak, Harvey Guillen, Mark Brocksh, of course, who's probably my favorite of the cast. But just those 5 have molded together so well, where I feel like they can just make anything that is written for them even better, right, with the improv and just their kind of ability to play off each other, again, and creating some of these great moments. Yeah, 2 of the episodes really stood out to me. Like I said, you'll see both those in my top 10 episodes video, so go check that out if you want to hear more about that. But yeah, just a bit of a step down, though it still does definitely deserve a mention, at least in terms of my favorite or my top shows of the year here for sure. Alright, so next then is probably my favorite limited series of the year, though I do think we were kind of lacking this year in terms of limited series or mini series. I was kind of disappointed, to be honest, with kind of the overall field. There wasn't any standouts. Like last year we had Mayor of Easttown. The Northwater for me was a really great one. Previous years we've had just some really great limited series, but unfortunately, anyways, this year wasn't as great. But Under the Banner of Heaven, I thought deserved a mention here. This one really held my attention. I believe it was on for 6 or 7 weeks, and I was really looking forward and watching each episode as it came out every week. just such a fascinating show, and I really got, kind of committed, or I guess kind of involved, immersed, I guess you could say, in this, world of religion, and specifically Mormonism, the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. And that's what this kind of story is about, right? It's kind of showing the origins of Mormonism and that kind of thing. But of course, the characters and the crime of the murder of this young girl and her baby, is done by, extremists, basically, within, or under that banner, right, under that banner of Mormonism. Very extreme. I don't think, obviously a lot of Mormons would not, at all claim them, or say that they're anything similar to what they practice on a daily basis or anything like that. Although, of course, they were in the beginning, right? They kind of go on this, arc, or this journey to where they get to. But anyways, so Andrew Garfield stars in this one. Just fantastic stuff from him. Probably the best I've seen from him. And I know he's great in The Social Network, but I haven't seen that in a long time, so I can't remember. But he was fantastic. Some of the best acting, I think, all year in anything I saw on TV. And then you want to talk about Sam Worthington, Wyatt Russell. I thought also was just fantastic. His commitment, especially, on this dramatic side of him. Of course, I know from like 22 Jump Street, probably before this, the best. Very comedic turn for him there. But this dramatic, play on this character, on this murderer, extremist, Dan Lafferty, wow, he was just fantastic. Sam Worthington was great as well. Seeing him in Avatar and then seeing him in this, it just looks like he's grown so much as an actor, and he's just fantastic in this one. Daisy Edgar Jones as well is great, and Gil Birmingham, I don't think I mentioned him, he's also great in this one as Andrew Garfield's partner, right? So yeah, I really like the kind of tone that they set as well. Although that does kind of come back to kind of the main point of this whole series, is that it could have been like really, really special. I think it had the potential to be that, because the tone they're trying to capture here is very much like True Detective season 1, I would say. That's kind of the best comparison that I can think of here. And it obviously it does not reach that level of, or you'd probably hear more about it, of course. But it had the potential, to me at least, to come close to that, to really nail that kind of tone and that kind of, dark kind of, exploration of these ideas and this mystery that makes no sense on the surface. Then you kind of dive deeper into kind of, even kind of the cult similarities, I think, are there between True Detective season 1 and this. So anyways, it doesn't quite reach that level. I feel like the potential for the show was much greater than what it actually ended up achieving. And this was Dustin Lance Black, I believe, who's been nominated for at least one Oscar for that movie, Milk, that he wrote, and I believe he directs and writes most of these episodes for Under the Banner of Heaven. So great to see him, and I think he does a pretty good job here. The writing at times is a little kind of rocky to me, but in terms of the directing, I think he does a fantastic job, or at least if there's other directors as well for some of these episodes, I think they do a great job for this. So anyways, yeah, just overall could have been even better, but still deserve a mention on this list nonetheless. All right, so next then is Stranger Things Season 4. Of course, I had to put this on the list. So Stranger Things Season 1 to me is one of the best seasons of television I've ever seen. I will say that right up front. I mean, I think still, if Stranger Things was just kept as a limited series, which I believe it was originally supposed to be, with that season 1, those 8, I believe it's 8 episodes, right, just contained, I think in time, by now, I think it'd definitely be considered at the top in terms of limited series, just in terms of TV seasons as a whole. And I think season 2 was pretty good, kind of retreading that same story and just make it a little bit bigger, right, in season 2. But season 3 was kind of underwhelming to me. I thought it really played into kind of the cliches and just surface level writing, not a lot of depth, and just kind of trying to play to basically what the show had become in this, pop culture phenomenon, and try to kind of play on that a little too much. And I really feel like this season 4 came back from that. I think it really found its footing and really kind of departed from that season 3 tone and the kind of vibe that they were going for there. And so I think it did differentiate a little bit because that one was really based in the summer and they were really trying to play up that July 4th kind of thing with its release date and all that. Whereas this one, yeah, I think it's a little bit darker. I think it really is a little bit more grounded than season 3, a little less like light and fluffy, around the edges, which is kind of a weird thing to say for that season because it's also horrifying and really kind of terrifying at times. But anyways, yeah, I just feel like season 4 is a little more grounded. I really love the kind of Vecna storyline that they explored in this one. But just overall, yeah, it's just not on the same level as season 1. And I get what they're trying to do in Vecna and trying to tie it all together. But to me, that did feel a little shoehorned. It didn't feel like they knew who Vecna was when they started this series in season 1 and they were, building to it this whole time. It really felt like they were in the writer's room for this season and they thought of a way to tie it all together. But I will say, nonetheless, it plays out really great, and I am looking forward to season 5 to see how this all ends. Supposedly it's the final season. And the one other thing I will say for Stranger Things, which is one of the main reasons it's actually on this list, besides everything else I've said, is this season, I don't think like anything else that happened this year, maybe House of the Dragon, I guess, but other than that, it was event television to me, especially that finale being like over 2 hours. It really felt like, okay, I gotta square some time off tonight because I'm watching a movie, right? And that was like every episode, and especially was that finale, where it didn't even feel like you were watching a TV show. Honestly, it really felt like you were tuning into an event, almost like a sporting event, like every night that you were going to watch an episode. And honestly, I was just really looking forward to that finale and just sitting down and watching this. I think it was like two hours plus, right? And just watching this finale. So that is something I think Stranger Things really has going for it. And they have said that season 5 is going to be shorter. I think they kind of learned their lesson, Netflix, and they've said, Duffer Brothers, you got to make it shorter, which I don't think is a bad thing by any means. But I do think that is one thing that season 4 really had going for it, is that kind of event television, especially as well, splitting up those last 2 episodes and giving a bit of a gap in between. I think that was a really good move by Netflix, and again, even got more people into it and really got them wanting to come back and see those last 2 episodes to see how it all ended. So, yeah, can't say enough about that element of Stranger Things. I thought that really stood out to me. All right, so the last honorable mention then before we get into the top 5 is Hacks Season 2. So Hacks Season 2 I thought was better than Season 1. I thought it was quite a step up, I would say. I can't remember if Hacks Season 1 was on my top 5 TV shows. I don't think so. I don't believe. I think it just missed out. Where, and to be honest though, even Season 2, this isn't quite my show, I would say. It's not, quite the at least the type of show that I tune into a lot. I wasn't even, much of a comedy guy for until about 2 years ago with this channel and really kind of venturing out to more comedies and that. And the way that this kind of, especially with this being kind of a comedy about show business and that kind of thing, it's interesting, right? It's interesting, but just not something I usually check out in terms of that. But yeah, anyways, with all that being said, I thought this was definitely a step up from Season 1. Thought they really honed in on a lot of the comedy I really enjoyed in Season 1, especially with Paul W. Downs' character. I thought that was just great that they kind of leaned into that more, because those are some of my favorite parts of Season 1. I thought this season also felt really complete. It felt a little bit more polished, especially that finale. Really could have worked as a series finale, really. So I'm actually not sure where they're going to go for Season 3 now, but we'll have to see. But just that finale and just the whole way the season played out just felt like it was really carefully planned, and everything just kind of connected really well. Again, with that finale kind of tying things up, putting these characters, basically finishing off their arcs in a lot of ways. And that's why I say I'm not sure where Season 3 is going to go, because, these 2 main characters, Ava and Deborah, have really kind of come to the end of their arcs. So we'll have to see. But yeah, great job, of course, Gene Smart and Hannah Einbinder, amazing in this show. That duo is one of the best on TV for sure. One of the best in comedies. Definitely, and Jean Smart's probably going to win an Emmy again this year, or I guess she did, right? I can't remember if that was already up or not, but anyways, she's fantastic, deserves all the awards she gets for sure. But yeah, I was just happy to see that, you know, they kind of improved on some of the elements specifically that I wasn't a fan of with this season. So yeah, definitely had to mention it on this list, though I did like some other comedies better than it, but yeah. I do think it was still up there for me in terms of some of my favorites. So, anyways, with all that being said, now let's get into the top 5. All right, so at number 5 we have Barry season 3. All right, so Barry season 3. This one's interesting because Barry season 1 and 2 are. Honestly, it's one of my favorite shows of all time. It's got to be within kind of the top 20, top 25 territory. Those 2 seasons are just fantastic television, and I do feel like this one did take a step down. I feel like some people were actually pretty critical of this season. I wouldn't go that far. I think it is still very good, very funny, of course. But yeah, obviously a step down from season 1 and 2. But just some amazing moments this season in Barry. Some of the best, I think, in terms of the run of the series. A bit of a different look, I would say, in season 3 as well. This was 3 years since season 2 premiered that it took now for season 3 to come out. So obviously things have changed. I think the writing for these characters definitely changed. It kind of takes a different turn. This season, especially in the finale too, and the way it ends, does feel a little bit more grounded and a little bit more emotional. In the way that we kind of connect, especially to Barry, but some of these other characters as well. And so in that aspect, I did really like that. And that was definitely different than season 1 and 2. And then in terms of the comedy, I mean, just some great absurdist comedy. They also kind of lean into a bit of a meta thing here with commenting on, you know, TV shows and Hollywood and how the studios all work in terms of Sally's storyline. Which I thought was really great. Just some great comedy came from that. And yeah, just some great sequences that Barry has just become known for this, really. Especially with that episode, Ronnie Lily in season 2, which to me is still one of the best episodes of TV in terms of comedies that I've seen in years. I mean, maybe ever. That episode is just brilliant. And we get kind of, you know, shimmers of that throughout this season of different sequences. And I do talk about a specific one in my top episodes video as well. So if you want to check that out, you know, I definitely feel free. But yeah, so Barry season 3 again. But it was a step down from season 1, 2. But to me, still one of the best comedies on TV right now. Really looking forward to season 4 as well, which I think is the final season. So we'll see how they wrap things up. Pretty big cliffhanger in season 3 as well. I really like that. So we'll have to definitely see where that goes. And a great ensemble cast as well. Of course, Bill Hader, Henry Winkler, Sally Goldberg, Anthony Kerrigan, Stephen Root. Just fantastic stuff from all those actors and actress, of course, Sally Goldberg, and there's a lot more, of course, that I'm forgetting, but yeah, just a stellar main cast. They all do great in this one, and of course, Bill Hader is one of the best leading actors in a comedy. I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, I watched some of Ted Lasso. I'm not up to date with it. I just don't understand how Jason Sudeikis wins awards over Bill Hader, specifically in this last Emmys. To me, that's just ridiculous. I think Bill Hader, easily the best lead actor in a comedy, and he was just fantastic again in this season. Next, at number 4, then, we have Dark Winds Season 1. This one, I wasn't sure I was going to check out, actually, going into it. And it's only 6 episodes this first season on AMC. But I did hear really good things from critics. I'm not sure it was a very high-rated show. But, you know, critic appeal was really there, the critical acclaim. So I checked out and I'm really glad I did. I mean, I really like the tone and the kind of feel that they go with here and exploring. It is based off these best-selling novels, these crime novels written by Tony Hillerman. I believe they're called Leopold and Chi, which are the two main characters here, the detectives, Jim Chi and Joe Leopold, Chi being the kind of sidekick, I guess. And so it is kind of this crime thriller, mystery, right? Kind of playing on all those. And they really do a good job of exploring kind of some of these, this indigenous mythology as well. It's kind of based on the Navajo Reserve in New Mexico, and the Navajo Nation as a whole, those people. And it's really kind of exploring kind of, the mythology of that, some of the dark mythology as well. And so you're never sure if some of these events that happen are surreal or actual reality. And so they really kind of play with that and bend that kind of line between those. And it just works really well and kind of interweaving that within the mystery that's playing out. I think it's great. And to see Zahn McClarnon in a lead role in this show is just fantastic. He's great in Reservation Dogs, and I've seen him in some other stuff over the years. But it's just great. And he's fantastic. He's absolutely fantastic in this role. One of the best performances on TV this year to me. And then Kiowa Gordon, Jessica Madden, I believe. Just some really great performances, those two in supporting roles, but really great as well. Everything just kind of, I feel like, came together this season. I feel like the finale could have been a little bit better, but I did really like the kind of ambitious twist that they went with there that I did not see coming. Though, again, I feel like they could have executed a little bit better maybe, but it does definitely leave some room for improvement. They have been renewed for season 2, so I really am going to look forward to season 2 here to see where they kind of go from here, and it looks like they'll kind of explore a different mystery or crime each season. We'll have to see what they go with for next season. Really like this. And Jeremiah Bitsui, don't want to go without mentioning him. Of course, Victor from Breaking Bad, he gets a huge meaty role in this season as well as the villain, and he is fantastic. Really great stuff there. All right. So number 3 then, next on the list is House of the Dragon, Season 1. Yeah, I didn't think this would actually be in my top 3 of the year, but it is. I mean, this was really a moment in the year, taking a look at the show from August till October, really, for about 2.5 months there. This was, the thing to tune into every single week. I know some people, also tune in Rings of Power. I didn't. But, to me, this was really the moment of the year. And I took a look at this season with my friend Greg, who has read Fire and Blood, the material it's based on. And so we had a good time reviewing almost every episode we did on the channel here. And then we also ranked our episodes for the season. So feel free to check out any of those videos if you're interested in kind of more thoughts on the season. But yeah, I thought this was quite a surprise. My expectations were quite high, of course, going into it. But I feel like they were at least met at the very least, but probably exceeded. Because this season really came together well. I liked how they approached it, with the first half being, Millie Alcock as Rhaenyra, kind of the younger characters, and then the second half being the older versions of them. It was kind of an interesting way to approach it, where I did kind of have a little bit of a problem with how they executed some of the time skips. I feel like they could have made it more apparent, more clear when we were skipping and how much time had passed and all that stuff. But just the overall decision to frame the story that way, I did like. I felt like things just really came together. They did a really good job in showing just enough of the dragons, but not too much. And really, not just making it a CGI fest of all these dragons, flying around. It was really, a lot of respect given to each of the dragons and really making it meaningful every time they showed up, which was one thing I was definitely worried about, considering kind of how they handled the dragons in Game of Thrones, especially towards the end, where they just became kind of, set pieces almost to showcase, right, as, to showcase that CGI and all that stuff. And they look great, by the way. They look great as well in this season. So yeah, just felt like it played out really well. Leaves a bit of a cliffhanger this season. Overall, not much actually happened. This season was just a lot of build-up. There's really only one action sequence, or like battle sequence, if you want to call it that, whereas Game of Thrones had at least one, probably multiple every season. This one is taking its time. It's really building it up, but I think does a great job, and I'm really looking forward to season 2. Sounds like we won't get it, of course, till 2024, but yeah, if they need time for it, give them all the time they need. Really great. And obviously Matt Smith, I have to mention, one of my favorite performances of the year as Daemon Targaryen, just fantastic. And of course the whole cast, right? Millie Alcock, such a great job, kind of emerging as the star now as a result, but really great. Olivia Cook, of course, Risa Fons, Patty Constantine, Emma Darcy, of course, coming in the second half as the older Rhaenyra. So, yeah, really great job from that cast. They did a great job. And the writers, Ryan Condal, leading the way. I thought he just great adaptation of this material that I've heard so much about, and definitely, might look into reading soon as well. Though I don't want to spoil too much for myself going into the future seasons. But anyways, season 1, House of the Dragon, definitely deserves to be there at number 3. All right, so next then at number 2 is going to be The Righteous Gemstones Season 2. So to me, this was my favorite comedy of the year. Danny McBride and crew delivered once again, though I do think this is a bit of a step down from season 1, which aired almost 3 years ago, but before this season aired, so definitely 3 years by now, because this was earlier in the year. But yeah, I feel like it's a bit of a step down, but it's still really delivered on the comedy. The only thing that I feel like it was a bit of a step down in was the actual story, the actual overall kind of drama of it, the thing that it was kind of the through line of the whole season. I felt like season 1's story was a little bit stronger, but this season we see a bit of an expansion of this kind of mega church world, introducing other kind of families that are in this space and in this world, like the Listens, played by Eric Andre, Lyle Listen. Just fantastic stuff in the way that they did that. But just kind of the story with Eli, John Goodman's character, and the patriarch of the family, I feel like that was just a bit weaker for this season. But the comedy just was amazing all the way through this season, as always. Danny McBride's kind of blend of this horror, comedy, drama, action, it's just brilliant. And, him, David Gordon Green, and Jody Hill, what they've done in Eastbound and Down, Vice Principals, and now this, it's just stellar, and I love it. I love it. I know some people, of course, this won't be for them. They won't really like it. But to me, I love it. I'm fully in, and this, especially the finale and the way this season ends, really sold me, and honestly was one of the best episodes of the year. You'll see that in my top episodes video for sure. That finale and just being able to tie up so much that they had set up, and I was kind of worried going into it, right, that they could tie all this stuff up and all these loose ends, and what a fantastic job they did in that finale and tying this up and really kind of putting a bow on this story and bringing things together. I thought it was just great. The absurdity, the physical comedy as well throughout the season, especially a few sequences here. It only Barry really rivals the show on TV right now. I mean, it's just, some of these sequences are just freaking crazy. I mean, it's just insane that they even thought of this. And then, of course, the commitment from these actors to commit to these, to actually really do it and go through the motions in these sequences. It's just incredible. So yeah, Danny McBride at the lead, John Goodman, Edie Patterson, Adam Devine, Walton Goggins. Just an amazing job from this cast all the way around. Of course, I'm probably missing some. But yeah, just great. And Edie Patterson, man, if only it was just to showcase her performance, this show would be in my top TV shows of the year list, because she is just fantastic, unbelievable, the stuff that she does. And of course, she is in the writer's room for some of these episodes as well, so definitely she's writing that stuff in, knows that she has to do it, and then does, gives it 110%, and it's so funny. It creates so many laughs. So yeah, really great stuff from Gemstones. I think it was like close to this when season 1 aired that year, and it's at the top of my list again. Really great stuff there. All right, so number one, this one, to be honest, wasn't that close. It was pretty clear to me. It's Better Call Saul season 6. Yeah, I had to do it, of course. Better Call Saul, one of my favorite shows of all time, of course, Breaking Bad being my favorite of all time. This season, I do feel like, though, was not the best season of Better Call Saul. I think there were a couple others that are probably better than it in hindsight now, looking back. And I did rewatch the first 5 seasons before I checked out season 6. So a little bit more refreshed on some of those earlier seasons, but this season really came together well. They had a lot of stuff to do, right? Because, we had to tie up the rest of this storyline that they had been going with for the better part of, five and a half seasons, right? Or 5 seasons. And then also they had to tie up this timeline that they had been building up in the seasons, up to this point, of the post Breaking Bad Gene timeline. And so they do such a great job of that in splitting up this season at, basically a halfway point. And then I guess the second half of the second half is the Gene timeline and finishing that out. And I thought that was really well done. Although, again, I really maybe would have chose a different split there for these episodes. It did feel a little awkward. But anyway, I did do a review as well for this season, so feel free to check out my thoughts there. But yeah, obviously, some of the best directing, writing on TV this year by far. Vince Gilligan, some great direction from him. Peter Gould, Thomas Schnauz, Gordon Smith. I can go on. All these guys, just fantastic writing. So, yeah, obviously I had to put season 6 here. A great finale as well, though I did have a couple problems with it. Just kind of nitpicks, I guess. It doesn't come together quite as well as Breaking Bad did, for example. But having said that, I do really love some of the, shots, especially in that finale that Peter Gould got, and just the way that this really ties up really the universe as a whole. The finale is even less of a finale for Better Call Saul as it is this whole universe that started with Breaking Bad, and kind of tying all these things together. Of course, the cameos with Walt and Jesse coming back were amazing. Just sitting there with my kind of jaw on the floor for the first, couple moments of them appearing on screen again, to be honest. Just fantastic stuff to see all that play out and see Better Call Saul end now officially. Which is a bit unfortunate, but we already got news on a new Vince Gilligan show, so definitely looking forward to that. But yeah, just awesome stuff from Better Call Saul. Nothing else to say for that one. It is for sure my number 1 of the year. But anyways, with all that being said, like I said off the top, love to hear your guys' thoughts on TV this year. What were some of your favorite shows that stood out to you? And of course, what are your thoughts now that you've heard my list? Do you agree, disagree? Either way, I'd love to discuss that with you guys as well. So anyways, stay tuned now for my most anticipated shows, a 2023 video that I'll be doing. And then, of course, my year-end awards ceremony, which will be coming early January, hopefully. But anyways, with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this one. I will see you then in my next video.